let's talk about the latest episode of The Mandalorian. Why are we still watching this? Some people have said this episode was an improvement. It looks like the story progressed, but the story is not about Din Djarin anymore. It's not about Grogu. It's not about the Mandalorian. I was literally thought to myself that the title of the series is The Mandalorian. It's actually not about Din. It's not even about Bo-Katan. It's just about the Mandalorian as a people. It's devolved into the Star Wars show. It's the we're at the point, it's just the Star Wars show. So what is it about? Because story is driven by character. This isn't the Mandalorian story. And I think that part of the reason that people are not as interested in this season, and we'll get to this specific episode in a minute, but the reason they're not interested is the Mandalorian story was wrapped up in season 2. He had a mission that began in the first episode of season 1. In the very first episode, you met Baby Yoda, Grogu. And he had an original mission to return Grogu to some people who then he betrayed those people. Grogu, he grew a fondness for Grogu, who accompanied him on many adventures. His eventual goal was to return Grogu to a place of safety. And in the final episode of season 2, he was put in the able hands of Luke Skywalker as the first member of what would be his Jedi Academy, where he would embark on training. And that seemed like a good end. Now, you could do another season of The Mandalorian. There are other missions to accomplish. There are other goals. There are other season arcs and stories. But to begin season 3 with and by the way, that season 2 ending was like this heartfelt. He takes his mask off. You see his face. He says goodbye to Grogu, and he's off in the capable hands of Luke. And then we start season 3 with forget everything that happened. We're just going to bop around the universe with all sorts of seemingly disconnected stories, building up to tell one big story, which will be a movie directed by Dave Filoni, which will probably end up on Disney Plus and will never be released in theaters. And by the way, all those announcements we saw at Star Wars Celebration, none of those movies are greenlit. There are 3 movies that were announced. These aren't the titles of these movies, but they're the eras. The Dawn of the Jedi, which is set 25,000 years in the past, even before the Old Republic. To be written and directed by James Mangold, or is it directed by only? Then there is the other movie, which is the Dave Filoni film, which will bring together all the Disney Plus Star Wars shows and conclude the conflicts in those shows. My assumption is it's going to be Ahsoka, Thrawn, and whatnot. And then there is a third film, which will star Rey Skywalker, who will be in a movie about her beginning a Jedi Academy, which makes no sense to me. That was Luke's arc. She wasn't even formally trained. I guess she stole the books. She stole the books from Luke.
Did he destroy the books?
Cool. She stole the books. This happened in The Last Jedi.
No, but didn't he destroy them, or?
No, Yoda burned down the temple, right? The sort of temple where Luke thought the books were, but Rey had already stolen them. They're in a drawer on the Millennium Falcon.
Right.
In any case, so these 3 movies, not a single one has been greenlit. You are committing $500 million, couple $100 million to make the movie, couple $100 million to market and release the movie. And Kathleen Kennedy has not proved particularly responsible when it comes to budgets. We're looking at the Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Destiny, creeping between 300 and 350 million for the budget for that film. You know, look, I do have to give the Mandalorian series some credit that when it comes to the production design, well, some of the stuff you can argue looks kind of stupid. Like, they're spending money on the show. They are spending some money on the show. But Star Wars Celebration was a source of frustration for me over the weekend. And I didn't exactly sit and watch all of it. I kind of just went through, we talked about this on last Friday's show, but But this particular episode of The Mandalorian, it's not, The Mandalorian is not the lead character of this show anymore. All of the actions, the story, are driven by Bo-Katan, who has a very clear goal. What is the Mandalorian's goal? If Din is even the Mandalorian at this point, because you could easily argue that Bo-Katan is the Mandalorian, or the Mandalorian is like the name of a people, like the Egyptians. It's the story of the Mandalorians and Mandalore and the redemption of its people and whatnot. But Alan, why don't you tell us about this latest episode of The Mandalorian after that preamble?
Yeah, first of all, I have to ask: are you okay? You sound disheartened, like like all hope and will has been sucked out of your body, and
well, for sure, my soul has been sucked out. But Alan,
yeah, I mean,
please continue.
Look, the bet. I mean, I'll tell you, I only saw the first 20 minutes of the latest episode.
Well, you didn't watch it. That's literally your job.
No, I was watching Picard instead, and then rewatching Picard again. So, okay, so I'm a latecomer to The Mandalorian. This is the first full season I'm watching. I don't understand. I didn't watch necessarily the first two. I don't understand the. I honestly I don't understand how anyone is excited about this and kind of. Is there enough people so excited about this series that they're going to make a movie to tie it all together? That doesn't make any sense to me. I will tell you the last part of this episode I saw was kind of the Council of the Empire Commanders, and I kept thinking to myself, hold on, is this the Empire or was it the First Order? Or I'm so lost in terms of where. The other thing is I'm confusing with Andor, so now I have to constantly be playing with where in the history does this take place.
Wait a sec, you don't know, dude.
No, I do know, but I'm constantly
right.
They're talking. They're mentioning the Empire. Rise. Hail to the Empire, whatever. And I'm like, what is? I'm like. Doesn't the Empire not exist in the First Order? And then I'm sure this is the other problem with this series.
No, this is, if you've read let me explain then, since well, okay, the events in The Mandalorian take place after Return of the Jedi.
Right. So this leads into the sequel. That's what I finally figured out.
It's between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. It's the New Republic is trying to trying to set things right in the galaxy after the oppressive authoritarian regime that was the Empire under Palpatine. I say fake news on Palpatine. He brought order to the galaxy, but
but they kept referring to themselves as the Empire in that sequence. And
so let me explain. Let me explain. So if you've read the Timothy Zahn trilogy, Heir to the Empire, it's about sort of the remnants of the Empire coming back under a general named Grand Admiral Thrawn, who was known in the Empire as being this incredibly intelligent, strategic leader who, in the books, it's really great. You should read the books. In the books, Grand Admiral Thrawn would conquer worlds, and the way he did this is he would study the art of an advanced civilization. And what he would determine through the art that the civilization revered, he would tap into what the fears of that civilization were. He would play on the fear of that planet. And he became a master at conquering worlds. And this was the strategy he used. It's a really in-depth character, like a proper villain, which is what you need. It would have been great if Thrawn was the villain of a Star Wars sequel trilogy, but they threw all that away. It was very.
So let me ask you this: is this the first mention of Thrawn in the Star Wars?
They've teased Thrawn. They teased Thrawn. They teased Thrawn in the Ahsoka trailer that they showed. So Thrawn is
okay. So that's in the future too. I'm saying this is the first time they're bringing Thrawn into the proper Star Wars, whatever you want to go, Disney Star Wars.
In this episode, Thrawn doesn't show up to a meeting. He's too busy.
But they mentioned
Giancarlo Esposito's character, Moff Gideon. He's now the big bad, right? So he's come in, he's returned, he was liberated. They're trying to blame it on the Mandalorians. You see that on Mandalore, there's a secret base. It ends up being a trap for the Mandalorians, and they're kind of taken out. And then you see Moff Gideon takes away Din Djarin. It's Din. Is it Din Djarin? Din Djarin is taken away to a briefing room. But previous to that, there's a meeting with all these other people that are what's left of the Empire, have a big meeting where they're all holograms and they're standing around talking to each other. And Grand Admiral Thrawn was supposed to be at the meeting, didn't make the meeting. My prediction is he'll be present, or you'll see him at the end, before the end of this season. And it's kind of setting up, what does this have to do with Grogu and Pedro Pascal's character? They're just their story is finished.
Right.
They're done. This isn't even about
this show. This show should be called The Tales of the Mandalorian.
It might be better, so that way it's more clear.
You're managing expectations. The other thing is, the reason I mentioned Thrawn and ask about it is, now that they brought him in, you must be really excited that they're finally going.
No, because I'll tell you why I'm not excited. They should have the sequel should have been loosely based on the Heir to the Empire stories. That would have been incredible. There's a new republic, but there's a threat of what's left of the Empire. Keep it simple. This whole creating a first order, and they redo all the logos, and they're doing black X-Wings. All that stuff was to get you to buy more stuff. It's utterly ridiculous. We've talked enough about what a colossal disappointment the Star Wars sequels are. So I'm not going to go into the 1000th tangent where I talk about that.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing that bugs me. That bugs me the most is they're building something bigger, but there's not a base of fans strong enough to sustain it. If they're going to go in this exciting Thrawn direction, or even whatever direction they're headed in with, this supposed lead into the sequels, I can't believe there are enough people that are not me that are so into this story that they're going to make money on this somehow. I mean, this is the problem with Disney, is they don't understand their audience. They don't understand how to cater their audience, and they're certainly not willing to put out anything that will excite their audience. The ones with the money, the ones that will spend time to sit and watch, buy tickets, subscribe to Disney Plus, and we know who's leading it, but this is. Ever since the Bud Light thing, I'm like, what has happened to business degrees? What has happened to marketing? What has happened to the idea of how to make money for corporations? Because clearly Disney is not doing any of that.
No. Well, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
That the Bud Light thing is interesting because it shows that the big problem right now is people are being brought up in middle management based on their education, but without any understanding of the audience. I can tell you the woman who launched that Bud Light campaign that offended so many
Ivy
people.
League graduate, by the
way. She doesn't drink Bud Light. She's not the target demographic for Bud Light. She's never been to a dive bar where the four choices are Coors Light, Bud Light, Miller Light, and Miller. And
somehow she thought that to broaden the market, the market share of Bud Light, you have to alienate its current customers. Thinking that by putting out a woke message will bring in all the wokesters who clearly drink a lot and drink Bud Light.
Well, it's true that actually drinking as a whole is down amongst younger people.
Yeah.
They are drinking less than previous generations. I think it has to do with the fact that people are more into marijuana.
Yeah, but my Bud Light point is that they don't understand their audience. This is basic marketing. You have to understand your audience. You have to understand what they want, because these are the people paying your salaries, and you are not catering to them. You're catering to an idea that you think this audience wants, when you clearly have no idea what this audience wants. They've done it with Star Wars. They have no clue why people like you and me who grew up with Star Wars love Star Wars.
Exactly. So This is actually, so what's interesting about the Bud Light thing is that a lot of people have been brought up in positions where they are now the shepherds of franchises, IP, products that they don't use, that they're not a fan of, that they don't love. I believe you cannot sell something that you do not love, that you do not know everything about. If you love beer and you drink Bud Light, baby, you should be working at Bud Light and you should be selling Bud Light. Why? It's your favorite beer. It's crisp, it's light, it's like club soda with a little tiny hint of beer flavor. And if that's what you enjoy drinking, well, go right ahead. You should work for that company.
Yeah. Now here's the scarier thing. I have a daughter who is in high school, and we're looking at college. And when I saw what the VP of marketing said from this Ivy School graduate, it made me think, what the hell is an Ivy League business degree worth when this is what they're taught, and that this is the decision they made, and that she was hired because she was an Ivy League graduate. This is, what is a college degree worth nowadays? It's worth.
She went to Wharton. Also, she put in all of her little bio stuff that she was the first female to be in charge of the biggest beer brand, and then proceeded to shit on the brand when she said that she said that it was a brand on the decline. And look, I'll just say this: Bud Light is not a beer I've ever. I've never had a Bud Light on purpose. It's kind of like when you say, if someone asks, would you like to drink a soda? Yes, I'll have a Coke. And they say, is Pepsi okay? Like, that's the only option we have. And you just say yes, because Pepsi, Coke, if my only choice is Pepsi, I'll have it. If I can't get a Coors Light, fine, I'll drink a Bud Light. That's what's there. Okay. But I've never on purpose drank that beer. But look, it's a blue collar beer. It's a working man's beer. And when you look at these franchises, it's all very clear to me now that the people that work on these shows are not the fans of this material. You can sit here all day and celebrate look, we have an all female cast and crew and this and whatever. And it's like, that doesn't matter. Do they love this thing? Do they understand it? Do they know what fans' expectations are? Are they a fan themselves? This is why I think that the young actress who plays Kamala Khan, she knows the material. She reads the comic. She understands it. She even kind of attacked Kevin Feige in one interview with her. It's I admire her passion.
Well, I mean, Jenna Ortega and what she did with Wednesday, that was pretty bold because she understood the character.
She understood the character.
And she made it work.
She did. And look, Harrison Ford pushed back against George Lucas for some of his decisions in Star Wars. Famously rewriting lines or saying Han Solo wouldn't do this. He wanted Han Solo actually to die in an act of self-sacrifice in Return of the Jedi, and Lucas considered it and then decided he wasn't going to do it, which is fine. But by
the way, Harrison Ford is the reason Phoebe Waller-Bridge is in Indy 5.
Oh my God. Why? That trailer looks so bad, dude.
Yeah.
We talked about it, but oh my God.
No, I mean, see, again, this is the problem with Disney. They don't know how to run a business anymore. I mean, I was being sarcastic, but did they not consider the audience that the Marvels would draw? And did they not budget the movie accordingly? That's the problem. That's basic business. I have a degree in business. That's what they taught us. And
well, a couple quick things. First of all, this episode was a disappointment. It's not the Mando show anymore. It's not Mando. It's
Tales of the Mandalorian.
It's the Mandalorian in terms of plural, the group, the Mandalorian. It's about the Mandalorian. That's what it is. I mean, that's what it is. I guess they're the Jews of the Star Wars galaxy. They're kind of a displaced people.
Okay, all right.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
What did you think I meant by that?
Oh, you have no idea.
All right. Well,
I'm just saying someone will just clip that and just say, Someone's being,
You all knew what I meant. Look, and also, can I actually recommend a different drink?
Sure.
I think that if you really want a good drink, something that tastes much better than a Bud Light, and that's a low bar, you should drink Film Threat Reviews.
Holy fucking shit, these reviews are delicious.
Now how is that marketing? Do you
So
like
true.
that? How do you like the marketing campaign? You have an attractive woman who basically takes a sip of Film Threat and says, holy fucking shit, these reviews are delicious.
These movie reviews are delicious.
See what I mean? Like, I could market beer. Why
You
not?
know what we need to do? We need to take these clips, redo them for a modern era.
Yeah, we're just going to color her hair blue.
Yes.
So there you go. All right. Look, bottom line on The Mandalorian, I'm going to there's only 2 episodes left, I believe. So I'm going to take it to the end.
Really?
No, and you
like,
are.
How is this going to end?
Oh, you're going to watch the rest of them too. You're going to watch the rest of them too, Alan.
I mean, clearly there has to be more story to tell. Okay, my problem with the story of The Mandalorian, it's so entrenched in secrets that I have no clue where it's going, and I don't care about the secret being revealed. I can't imagine anyone who is like me and just jumping in will ever get excited about Star Wars based on these properties.
Well, I think it's kind of over.